Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday, a beautiful day outside. Glad everyone is here. My name is Steve Lakey. I have the honor of serving on the Voter Awareness Council, which is part of what is responsible for today happening. We're honored to be working with the Montgomery County Hispanic Chamber on today's event, and we thank you all for being here. I'm going to start out with a very good news announcement. John Howard asked me earlier if I'd be willing to sing the national anthem. I'm happy to know I declined. That's much better for everyone. We formed our organization because voter turnout in our area, as most of you know, is very low. And when we have very, very important elections like this one, the outcome of what happens on CISD's board truly has an impact on every household in our area. Either directly or indirectly, has a direct impact. And yet often 5%, 10% is voter turnout. And we're about trying to change all that. And we're going to be doing that hopefully through events like this, where you have a direct opportunity to visit with candidates whom we thank for running, because that's not an easy thing to do. At forums like this where we have a chance to get to know our candidates better. So without further ado, I'll turn the microphone over to Amos, who I'm also honored to say is one of the charter members of our organization as well. Thank you again for being here today.
All right, well, thank you very, very much for joining us as we kick off all of our meetings. I want to thank you guys for joining us. Today's part of the Montgomery County Hispanic Chamber. Also want to recognize our premier members, Repsol USA, Centerpoint Energy, Memorial Herman, BBVA Compass, the Woodlands Country Club, Woodlands and Espanol, Mr. Reuter, Halloran Advertising, Mercantile Commerce Bank, O'Donnell, Fairley, Medley, and Kaiser, and Waste Connections of Texas. All right, so guys, we're very, very excited about your attendance and participation in our forum co-hosted by VBAC. Today's schedule and outline is going to be very simple. Let me walk you through it so that you understand. I'll read you guys the instructions. So each candidate will be allowed a 2-minute opening statement. Candidates will be introduced in order of last name, so it's all random, right, by last name. The format will be straightforward, question and answers. Questions were submitted to me, and I'll be conveying those to you. The attendees will have the opportunity to submit questions, which we've got a couple of questions as well. And if throughout the event, if you have some questions that spark up, please raise your hand. We'll have somebody come around the room, bring those questions up so that we can include those. John, if you'll keep an eye on that, please. Also, the candidates will be allowed up to 3 minutes for each response. There may be a 1-minute rebuttal at the discretion of another candidate or the moderator following each candidate's response to the original question. I'll make sure that I keep us on point and make sure that we answer the question at hand. So if I feel that we haven't quite answered, I may redirect you and ask you to please give us a specific answer to that. At the conclusion of the question and answer session, each candidate will have 2 minutes for a closing statement. The candidates will speak in last name reverse alphabetical order that time. So it'll be Ms. Lejeune, Mr. Hubert, and then Ms. Bush. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So 2-minute opening statements. Mrs. Bush, you are up.
All right. I'm Melanie Bush, and I'm in position 1 for CISD Board of Trustees. A little bit about me, just so that you get to know me. I've been married for 12 years to my husband, Alan. We have 2 wonderful daughters, Rebecca and Audrey, that are 9 and 6. And he has his own business here in the Woodlands, but I have my own business as well. And we've seen the amazing growth in this county and have been a wonderful recipient of that in my business. I've taken my business from a solo practice of bookkeeping to a thriving business of 11 now. And it's 4 short years. So that's, the growth that we're seeing in our county. That's on a much smaller scale than what CISD has experienced. And so the budgets and handling the finances of the clients that I have, as well as my company, learning how to grow, that is crucial. Additionally, my heart is in this. I really have wanted to do this for quite some time. Partially for my own girls, but also I'm a mentor at Women of Vision, Conroe High School. For the last 4 years, I've led a team of executive women in this area that have been pouring our hearts into at-risk girls that wouldn't go on past high school. A lot of women said they wouldn't even graduate high school if it wasn't for that program. And so because of them, I really felt inspired to move forward and to run for CISD. Thank you.
afternoon, everybody. Hello? Can you hear me? Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much for the Voter Awareness Committee for putting this on, and also the Montgomery County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. I appreciate y'all's dedication to getting opportunities for candidates to come out and speak to you and allow you guys to get to know us, and then once again allow us to mix and mingle with you and just facilitate good ideas to be able to take those and put those in a place where they need to be. My name is Skeeter Hubert. I've been out here since 1997. My wife and I got married. Bonnie, who's here as well. Thank you for showing up, Bonnie. We've been out in this community for the last 17 years. We have 4 kids, and my oldest graduated last year from Conroe High. I've got a 9th grader at the academy at Conroe High, and I've also got 2 boys. And one of those boys is at Mitchell in 6th grade, and then I've got a 3rd grade boy over at Bush Elementary. So I'm certainly invested in this school district with these kiddos. We help them with their homework. We help them get them to all the different activities around town. And so obviously, as Melanie was pointing out, there is a tremendous amount of growth that's going on in this community. And I want to be a part of that. I want to make sure that the growth that we have is managed and it has grown at the right pace, and also that we take care of the financing for that management as well. I've served in these schools for the last 8 years with the Education for Tomorrow Alliance, which is going into they have different programs. One of the programs I've been a part of is going into the classrooms and encouraging kids to stay in school. It's a wonderful program. So I've also served on the Woodlands Community Association years ago when we had that, and matter of fact, I put myself out of a position, and part of that process was setting assessment rates for you. And I guess my point to that is at the school board level, we set tax rates. I'm not going to be cutting my teeth on your tax rates on managing this budget. So thank you. I look forward to visiting with you a little bit more, and thanks for coming.
Again, am I on? Is it on? Am I now? Yay. Thank you all so much for coming this afternoon. It is a beautiful day. I wish we had a sunroof where we could open it up and just let the beautiful weather shine in. I am Kim Lejeune. I'm running for position 1. I've been married for 27 years to my husband, Randy. We have 2 beautiful children. Chad, my son, is actually in California right now in his sophomore year. He graduated from Oak Ridge High School. My daughter is currently a sophomore over at Oak Ridge High School. I have a little bit of background about me is when my husband and I started our business, I chose to stay home. And with that, I decided that I would move into volunteering at our schools. So I've been volunteering in their schools for the past 10 years. I have worked as homeroom mom, and I've also worked as PTO president. So the different aspects of the jobs that I've carried are vast and they're large. I want to bring that, the compassion and the energy of working in the schools and working with teachers and the community and businesses. I want to bring that to the board. I have since my husband and I own our own business as well, we have managed our budgets and you know how that goes. So being able to do that at the school level as well. So anyway, I want to thank you all for coming and look forward to answering questions.
All right, very good. Ms. Bush, first question goes to you to start us off. So it's recently been reported that 1,000 people are moving to Texas every day. Growth is a major issue for Montgomery County, and specifically CISD, which is growing at a rate of 1,500 students per year. What key issues do you see for CISD related to its growth?
Okay. Y'all want me to stand every time? I think that'd be easiest. Honestly, I think the growth is dealing with the finances that we've got to have to deal with the expansion of our classes. We are growing so much that we need more space. The east side of the highway, especially Oak Ridge High School, is already overcrowded. And so we're gonna have to build more schools. So we need to look at how we're gonna pay for those schools. We need to plan appropriately for a bond, but also for planning our budgets out and projecting the right way. We need to make sure we do that measure. So the financial side of things, additionally, we need to plan for the different types of students we have coming in. We need to work on our education standards that we've got and work with getting more local control of targeting our specific kids. Not every kid that moves to Texas is moving into Conroe. So we need to really focus on the kids that are moving into Conroe and meeting their needs of where they are. Our teachers are phenomenal. They're doing a standing job. But we need to continue to help them and support them. So we can work more with our legislators on getting more local control and targeting our specific students instead of the students that are in Dallas or Austin or anywhere else. That will be more beneficial to us.
Okay, so a couple of areas on the growth. First of all, we need to embrace the growth that we have going on. We also need to be able to balance the attention that needs to be given to the growth in all of the different areas without jeopardizing the relationships that we already have, and also without jeopardizing the students that are already in Conroe ISD. And I think there's a couple of different ways that we can address that. But first and foremost, we do need to look into schools, new schools, and how to pay for those. So we need to be open-minded to talk about the different, just the different avenues that we have to pay for these schools. Another issue that we may have is transportation. And I'm not necessarily talking about picking up and dropping off kids, but just in the area of growth alone, we're all backed up at lights and intersections in the Woodlands and in Conroe, specifically over on the east side as well. If anybody's ever driven down Rayford Sawdust, you can you almost need a new tank of gas by the time you get to the end. So we need to address those issues because not only do you and I drive those roads, but so do our school buses, and so does extracurricular activities like the different stadiums that all the kids have to go back and forth to. So we just need to look into that and how do we address it and how do we embrace it. So those are the areas that I think we need to focus on with growth.
The areas of growth are absolutely our capacity in our schools. The areas in the, not only on the east side, on the south side, but also on the north side, then the growth is going to be happening throughout the district. I believe that the Woodlands has, grown and is, has their schools all built. Am I on?
Going in and out.
Going in and out? So, with that said, I believe that the schools, and I believe that we also need to look at the funding as well and how we're going to fund our new schools. With the second thing I believe is also transportation. And I believe with the transportation, we do need to look at the routes that our kids take, at the routes that our buses are going to, fuel costs, making sure that we have bus barns located in places so, things aren't, that they're not running all over town. Those are the two areas. The last one I would say would probably be management of our funds and making sure that our operations and maintenance is being taken care of and how we're spending efficiently and wisely to make sure that our general fund grows.
All right. Mr. Hubert, this question starts with you, sir. So what role does the Board of Trustees play in dealing with growth as you outlined? You talked about traffic and you talked about really focusing on how do we make a change for the traffic transportation, those sorts of issues that come up. So how does the Board of Trustees deal with that?
Well, the school board, the trustees, they have fairly defined roles. Okay? They set and manage the budget. They also make sure that the needs of the schools and the superintendent are all being met as well. Specifically, how a school board member can address the transportation is working with our county officials and being ahead of the curve on that issue. Also working with our state legislators, our state reps, our senators, working with them as well. We have to have those lines of communication open. And since we also set the tax rate based upon property taxes, that's how we're funded. Just appropriately planning for the financial impact that this transportation is going to have, and really use the phrase "peel back the onion." Where are the issues that we have? You know, is it just congested intersections, or do we need more school buses, or do we need better routes? All of those things need to be looked into. And so I think as a school board member, we need to open up and be honest with ourselves and just look at it to make sure that the kids' best interest at heart is being the very first and the biggest priority. So that's how I would have that.
All right, Ms. Legend, you talked a little bit about bus barns and routes, and again, with really funding the overcrowding of schools or capacity perhaps. So how as a board of trustee will you deal with those specifics?
So your question was on growth and what I saw for growth. And with working as a school board member, our main focus is that we oversee Dr. Stockton. So it's an oversight. We do budget and set tax rates. We implement policies and procedures that come down from the state. So our job as board members would be oversight of Dr. Stockton to make sure that things are being implemented properly. As far as the bus barn, there is someone uniquely designed to handle that situation. So as a board member, it would be my job to make sure that Dr. Stockton is implementing those procedures properly with the bus barn. I believe that it is, again, there's a demographer that I know comes out and does assessments with school growth and makes sure that things are growing appropriately, or growing if they're growing at a fast rate in East County. He brings that information. You know, finance department steps in with taxes and things, and then there's a group that they come together and they present that to the board, and the board makes the decision. So what you're doing is we are oversight for Dr. Stockton, and Dr. Stockton manages the transportation department, and then he also manages the maintenance and operation. It's our job to set tax rates and to set the budget. It's not our job to micromanage.
The same question to Ms. Bush. One of the main things you said was about really focusing on Conroe specifically, and Conroe ISD specifically. So as a school board member, what will that look like?
I think the regaining of local control that I talk about is it's used a lot as a buzzword in education. But the key to it is working with our legislators. Senate Bill 6 took away a lot of the State Board of Education's oversight on textbooks. And I really would like to work with our legislators to get that back. The State Board of Education is being circumvented right now by book publishers, and things are coming into our schools without proper oversight. So if we are able to regain some more control over that at the state board level, but also at the local level. A lot of our teachers are going online for curriculum assists and are using Common Core materials because they're free, and that's what they have to use. And so I would like to see us regain more control, work with our legislature to make that happen. And the advantage that I think I have in that, and that the board plays in that, is to work with them. I have those relationships. So I will work with and talk with a lot of the state legislature that is coming in, and I think that that benefits Conroe to have me as a board member.
Thank you very much.
Question after it's completed. Thank you.
I don't believe that Conroe ISD board members have the power to go before the legislature. It is the power of the people to go before the legislator and to make their voices heard. We are one voice. We are one. There are 7 people, and there is one voice. And so that representation of one voice, we all stand together as one. So I don't believe or have read that we have any power for legislator to change any legislation.
Anybody else?
I would like to respond to that. The relationships that we have with our county officials and with our state officials benefit our education system. And the board, yes, goes as one voice. And I would never go with just my thoughts to the state legislature. It would be as a representative. But, you know, we do have to deal with campus funding that's currently being appealed by the state and work with our state legislature to make sure we're getting the proper funding. And with having those relationships, we're able to better benefit CISD because we can be champions for our students at a state level.
Hubert, anything? No, sir. All right. All right, we'll move into the next question, Ms. Lejeune. This one, we'll start with you this time. And so, let me frame it for you a little bit. So currently, CISD, 34% of the students in CISD are Hispanic. The current population of the county, which is Hispanic, is roughly 22%. So one of the things we know is that population is rapidly growing, and we know it's a very young population that we're working to educate. 36% of the school district is currently economically disadvantaged within Conroe ISD. Obviously, you know the statistics: 60 campuses, 348 square miles, 56,000 students. It's a lot. One of the pieces that we're working through today or seeing today is that we're seeing a higher college attendance rate or college enrollment rate in Latinos or Hispanics, up from 2000. In 2000, it was 49%, 2012, 69%. The first time ever that Hispanics have enrolled at a higher rate than Anglos in the history of the U.S. And, you know, in 1982, there was a big change to legislation which allows for undocumented children to join and to be educated. And it makes that part of the requirement of school districts. Currently in HISD, there are approximately 2,800 students in HISD who are undocumented with an average cost of $9,000 per student. If you do the math on that, it's $26 million in HISD funds that are going towards the education of undocumented immigrants. We're seeing a large growth. We see it in the news all the time. We know there's a center in Conroe. Talk to me about the role that you believe that Conroe ISD should continue to play, and how do we work to continue to address that, understanding that 30%, it costs us 30% more to educate non-English speaking students.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, excellent. What a great question. I'm so glad you asked. I believe that all means all, and our kiddos come wherever they come from, whether it's another state or another country. All means all, and we educate all of our students. Now, that's the job of the board. All means all. So I know that Rod Chavez has a wonderful program with bringing in the Latin American people, and is doing wonderful things with an open door policy to help immigrant families into our community, help them in the school systems. Those are all wonderful programs that I think CISD needs to continue to take a part in. The question, does that answer your question?
Partially. So Dr. Chavez definitely has some really great things working to help the community. I guess the biggest portion is there anything that you add, anything you change, anything that you can bring to the table as a trustee to help with that?
I just met actually with a group of Latin American women. I had a coffee right before coming here, and amazing women that had just shared some really interesting things with me about their struggles in making the transition from Latin America to Houston, to Texas. And I, as a mom, am listening to all the different things that they are struggling with. And the really great thing is that Mr. Chavez, Rod Chavez has this program that they can get plugged into, and I was excited to visit with them about that. The additional things that I could do as a personal board member, I think, is listen to what our community has to say and be able to present that to the other board members to bring, whether it be different programs. I don't have the power to do that singularly, but I could bring things to the board so that we could discuss them openly and make changes where changes need to be made, possibly.
Thank you. Ms. Bush, same question.
This is an issue. Financially, it's an issue. We've encountered that in the budget across the state. The undocumented workers are coming across the border that we're educating and we're taking care of medically all of these people. I agree, all means all. A kid that comes into CISD needs to be educated. And I'm very much a proponent of education as being the key to getting out of your circumstances. As you continue in your education, you're able to go on and open doors that you never thought possible. So I'd like to see added to what CISD already does is more partnerships with our organizations. I know that a lot of our community has so many benefits through Montgomery County Emergency Assistance, Montgomery County Youth Services. There's so many other wonderful organizations that we could partner even further with. So as a board, I'd like to see the entire board more involved with helping bring those programs to the forefront. Because there's new and innovative programs and organizations that are starting up across this county, I think virtually daily. And those are something that we can really capitalize on. With Women of Vision, I have personally seen several students that came here illegally go on to higher education through our program. Personally, I want that organization to continue to grow so that they can serve more students. Right now, we're only at Conroe High, but we have students at Caney Creek, at Oak Ridge, at College Park, and at the Woodlands High that could benefit from that program. But that takes that organization being able to expand. I would love to see a more comprehensive mentoring program from the lower grades all the way up. Personal passion of mine, not something else, just really personal passion. Watching someone walk through life together with them makes a big difference.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Hubert, same question.
Okay, so legitimate question. So if anybody's heard all means all, has that been said yet? Okay, so this has been said. I will tell you that Montgomery, or Conroe ISD does not ask the question, where are you from? Are you here legal? We're not allowed to ask that question. So it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter at the school board level. Those kids are here and they live in our school district. They need to be educated. And that's our role. Our role is to educate every student that lives in the Conroe ISD school district. So first and foremost, that's certainly what we need to do. Is there an issue with illegal immigration? Absolutely. But that's not my concern at the school board level. So what we need to do is we need to continue with the programs to educate every student that signs up or that lives in our school district, to educate them. I will tell you this, I serve on the board for the Montgomery County Emergency Assistance, and the reason I tell you that is I love the organization, and one of the main reasons why I love it is because we help people that are in need today. And when those people walk in, we're trying to help as many people as we possibly can. And one of the cool things is we don't ask, what color are you? How much money do you make? What's your gender? We don't ask any of those questions because poverty does not have a face. The face of poverty has changed drastically in this county, especially from the 2009 recession that we felt throughout the community. We need to overcome the obstacles of looking at people as who they are, and we need to help every single person that comes in the front door. And as a school board member, that would be what I would be advocating for, is to make sure that every child gets an education. My own father grew up extremely poor, felt like the way he was to get out of that situation was to educate himself, and he did, and he passed it on to me, and I would continue to pass that on to every child that comes through those doors. Thank you.
Either one of you have any rebuttal? right, very good. Let me go to a question from the room. And this one goes back to specific qualifications you may have. And so it's really a two-part, or I guess a three-part question. First and foremost, what experience do you specifically have in budgeting and forecasting in the business world? Is the first part. The second part is your educational background. And the third part is outside of your kids' schools, what else have you done to serve in the community?
All right, budgeting and forecasting, that's a large part of my business. My business is better bookkeepers, and so I deal with that on a daily basis, not only in my own business, but also in my clients. We have well over 100 plus clients now that we help to generate their budgets and help them forecast out how they're going to be able to move forward with growth, and when they encounter hard times as well. I have seen that firsthand. I've helped them with that through the struggles and through the positive times of cash flow. We've had companies from the hundreds of millions all the way down to the solo startups that are barely making $100,000. And so that's the budgeting and forecasting business experience that I have. Education, I am a first generation college graduate. And I have to say I'm proud of that. College was never an option in our house because my parents did not go to college. It was never an option. So I went to community college for 2 years, and then I transferred into SMU. I lived at home the whole time. I worked while going to school the entire 4 years and graduated with 3 degrees in 4 years. Last question was the other organizations or other involvement outside of my kids' school, because I've been involved with the girls and with PTO, and I've actually been treasurer of our PTO, but beyond that, the Executive Women's Alliance with the mentoring program, Aldenbridge Village Association, and I've been their treasurer for the last 2 years, so handling their budgets as well, much smaller. And then several other organizations. I've been involved in the chamber. I'm currently legislative team lead for them, and interfaith of the Woodlands. I've been on a committee for that, but I'm also involved in several other things. It just depends on what's going on at the time. Everything kind of has its season. So.
Would you repeat that? I'm sure
I will be happy to. The first part, Skeeter, is the experience with forecasting and budgeting in the business world. The second part is your educational background, and the third part is outside of your kids and their schools, what else have you done in the community?
Okay, very good. So in our household, we try, is this on? Okay.
It doesn't like it. It just likes
I think it's, not sure. But as far as forecasting, I sold my company that I've had for 14 years. I just recently sold it. But prior to that, obviously I own my own company. I've had as many as 6 employees working for me. So budgeting was certainly part of that. Is this one better? Hello? Okay, let's try this. Maybe we'll go back and forth. Maybe we should do this. Anyway, so part of the job is certainly forecasting and making sure that there's enough money left at the end of the month. So I've been doing that for the last 14 years. Along with that, I've served on several different boards. I've served on the Woodlands Area Chamber of Commerce. We set budgets every year for that. Montgomery County Emergency Assistance. Chad, we set budgets on that, don't we? So we set budgets on that. Education for Tomorrow Alliance. We set budgets for that. We also, Woodlands Community Association, Bruce, I know you remember that. That was a really time in my life. That was a fun time in my life because that was at the point where we were bundling all those services and giving them over to the township without an interruption in any of the services. Also, without passing on any debt. That was a very big concern that we had, and we were able to achieve that. And also, if you lived in the WCA, you saw a drastic decrease in your assessments for a couple of years, so we could get back to surplus of money that we had. So those are the areas that I have worked in. As far as my education, I'm a Bearcat. I went to Sam Houston State. I graduated in 96. My wife graduated in 97. She certainly has more initials after her name than I do. But I believe in education. However, I will tell you that I don't believe that every person needs to go to college. I believe that every person needs to be educated and needs to be ready, but we need to create avenues for those kids that are in our school district to be able to allow them to work where they want to work. Sometimes kids will come in 9th and 10th grade and already know what they want to do, and then there might be some kids that not till their senior year in college are realizing what they want to do. Every kid is different. We need to be able to create avenues and opportunities for each child in the school district, and that's why we have Katie for. Thank you.
I wrote this down. So, first is experience in forecasting and budgeting. Oh, no, I want to switch it up. I would like to start with my educational background. I am, like Skeeter just said, I am one of those students that did not choose to go to college. I chose my career in hospitality. So when I graduated from high school, I went right into the hospitality industry. My parents both owned restaurants, and that was my passion. So I became a flight attendant, and I came here to Texas, where I met my husband. And just like you said, that we can have success and not have to go to college. So when I see young people and they say, gosh, I don't want to go to college, it's okay. It is okay. You can have a fabulous life, do great things, make good money, and not have a college education. So that's my college background. The second thing is forecasting and budgeting. My husband and I own our own business. I run a home. I budget. That's my background. And I am so excited that there are going to be people like a Ray Sanders on the board, that there would be a Datron Williams on the board, and the financial background that they bring is amazing. What I bring to the table is different. I bring the passion of a mom that has worked inside the schools. I bring that background. I bring PTO background. I bring a mom that has stayed home and worked with her kids. That's why I chose. So when the last question kind of rolls into that, last question is, what else have you done in the community